and uh, and the everything. Part of what we'll talk about at the full board meeting is January, is the succession pathway, so that by June of 2024, we'll be in a position to decide if SARN is going out of business with my retirement, or if SARN will be in a position to continue. Uh, so there is a Facebook fundraiser up that I started on Monday, and we've raised $220 of the $2,000. But the hope is that all board members who are on Facebook will share the fundraiser, so that by the end of December, we would have met the goal of 2,000. But the main thing that I hope we could talk about tonight is getting ready for the biannual board meeting, which is when new board members are elected, or the board members who are on decide that they want to continue on the board. And usually, most of the board members who have been active decide to continue. We have one board member here in Columbus who has been MIA completely, Terrence. And so he'll probably be coming off the board in June, because he probably won't show up at the biannual meeting, which is a face-to-face meeting. So at this point, I'm on the phone, Adrian, so I can't see anything. But George has the numbers for how much it will cost us to be at Highlander. And we definitely need to scale back on, I think, what George talked to them about, because they set up the meeting so that they would be providing us some services, so that we would be paying them, but we don't need to do that. SARN was founded at Highlander in 1999. We had our founding conference there, and the only thing we paid for was room and board. So that's the meals. So the goal will be a Friday night dinner meal, and then breakfast, lunch, and dinner on Saturday, and then brunch on Sunday. So the numbers will have to be reworked from what George discussed with them, and then deciding on what sleeping quarters we will take. Let me ask you this, Adrian. Have you ever been at Highlander for an overnight event?
I
You
have
or
never been.
Jennifer?
I've never been in
You have
Highlander
never.
at all. Never.
No,
Well,
me
this is
either.
going to be. Have you, Jennifer?
No.
Oh, well, this is going to be a real treat.
Yeah.
Highlander was founded in 1930.
Wow.
And so it's a very famous place where lots of history has taken place. It's a place where Rosa Parks went before she sat down on the bus. It was a strategy session with Julian Bond and lots of other folks planning for the movement that became the Montgomery bus boycott that changed segregation, ended segregation in public transportation. So there's a lot of history there. And so SARN is a part of the history. because we were founded there in 1999. So they generally welcome us. And so they celebrated their 90th anniversary this year.
Wow.
So that's how important Highlander is. I hope I live long enough to celebrate the 100th anniversary there, which will be in 2032. So, but George, can you show the numbers that you were able to get from Highlander so that they can see them? I remember some of it. When we founded SARN at Highlander, it cost us $105 per person to sleep there for 2 nights and to have meals, to have 5 meals and 2 nights stay there. It was $105. They seem to do the numbers a bit differently, George. So I can't see them, George. Can you describe how they describe what the meals are and what the lodging is?
Yes, I have on the screen the fee for service schedule, and that's what I believe you were referencing. And on here, in the bottom half, not the on-site facilitation rates, which Teresa was clear y'all wouldn't need those. A day of meals, all meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner is $42. So that's Saturday. Dinner is $16. That's Friday night. And breakfast is $12, lunch is $14. Sunday, the expectation is to have brunch, so y'all can work with that as you care to. I was told that right now, COVID situations, and this was some months back, but that the Lillian Johnson Lodge was the only one at that of the housing lodging spaces open at that time. But they were expecting to open Kentucky House. So $70 a night for Lillian Johnson House, $60 per person Kentucky House. Lillian Johnson sleeps up to 18 dormitory style. I think Kentucky 16 dormitory style. That's all I remember about the lodging costs. And we had no discussion about the facility rental fees in terms of meeting space, but you see the fees here.
There is the main building. At the downstairs level is really the dining room, and the only facilities we would need would be the main building. In the large room, they have about 40 rocking chairs, and that's where the meetings are held. That's what Highlander is famous for, people sitting in a big circle in the rocking chairs. And what we would do, that would be our primary meeting space, where the facilitation will take place. And we bring our own materials, our flip charts and boards, and we bring all of our materials. And the expectation is that George, you and I and others on the board will actually conduct the meeting, which will be primarily on Saturday, and on Sunday we will meet in the dining room area, so it'll be a working brunch meeting in the dining area. In the evening on Friday, it'll be mainly social and planning for Saturday. So it's not a long meeting, because we would have been discussing what we want to do. We may bring in some people to participate in the meeting as guests based on the work we're doing. Like our primary projects are the Poor People's Campaign, though I haven't heard much about what's going on with Medicare for All. But the projects that we're working on is the Women's International League for Peace and Freedom. Wealth is our big project that we're committed to. And then Spice is our project here in Columbus with parents. So some of those folks will be invited into our board meeting to talk about how they're going to be taking over the project Spice. So there will be some guests in our meeting who are not on the board, but people that we generally provide stipends for because they're not board members. And part of what we'll be doing is deciding on what changes we need to make to the bylaws. And Jennifer, this is your main role as secretary, is reviewing the bylaws. And it's something that we will do as an admin committee down the road before we get to Highlander, so we can decide on what changes need to be made to the bylaws. These are things that we will be doing as an admin committee as we meet between now and May to discuss what recommendations we're going to be making to the board and what roles people will be playing on the board. And so it's my goal to step back from being chair of the board. And so we'll start to talk about that at the January board meeting, because we will have 2 board meetings before we get to the biannual meeting in June. But as you can see, the costs are very reasonable. But because we're not raising a lot of the idea would be for all of us to pay our own individual costs, which would be a 2-night stay, which is less than most hotels per person, and then the meals, which you can see are very reasonable meals. And my memory of the food is that it's very good, and we can tell them, give them some idea of what kind of food we want to eat. The person who used to be in charge of the kitchen, she passed away some years ago, so I haven't eaten at Highlander in quite a few years. But the food used to always be good, and the kitchen is modernized, so they actually have a lift for people who are, because you used to just have to walk upstairs, but now they actually have a lift, which I have used, and we would definitely need that for people like me who need that kind of assistance. So that's the idea for the biannual meeting at Highlander. And as you can hear from George, the prices are very reasonable. And the 2 facilities where they're sleeping people are dorm-like facilities. And so the bathrooms are kind of communal bathrooms. They do have a couple of other buildings for people like me who like their creature comforts, where I could have my own kind of private rooms or whatever, and they may cost a little bit more. There are also hotels in the area for people who really, really like their creature conference. But I'm hoping that all of us will be able to stay on site and not leave the hill, because Highlander is on a mountain, so it sits on top of a hill in Appalachia. It's really quite beautiful, and you'll really get the sense of being on holy ground when you're there. So, just the plan is to do a road trip up to Highlander in April, preferably in late April, when it's when the weather is probably better, late April or early May, to do a site visit so that we're kind of familiar with what we're doing, and that would be those of us on the admin committee and probably George to do a site visit at Highlander if we're able at the end of April or early May. So are there any questions about this proposal or any suggestions about the proposal for us to present to the board in January what the costs are, and the suggestion that those of us who can would pay for our room and board, our costs at Highlander, so we don't have to worry about raising a lot of money to fund our stay at Highlander for 2 nights.
Teresa, can we just go over the dates for the Highlander, the dates again for the board celebration?
Well, the biannual meeting would be the last weekend in June. We usually do it the last weekend in June, all of our official meetings, because we were founded the last weekend in June, which is my birthday weekend, coincidentally. But George, can you look at a calendar and see what the date? You discussed this with them, right, George?
I had it in the minutes for the last meeting of 2024. Is it 2024 or 2023?
It's 2023. This is not the 25-year celebration, which would be the last weekend in June of 2024. That would be the 25th anniversary celebration.
Okay.
So, George, can you stop sharing or whatever so you can talk?
Yes. The weekend that's been reserved is the 23rd and 24th and 25th of June. The last day of June is on a Friday, the 30th. So that's the last full weekend in June.
So we are having a meeting in June 23rd, 24th, 25th in Highlander in Knoxville, Tennessee in 2023. But the 25th anniversary is the comparable weekend in 2024.
The one in Atlanta.
Well.
Oh, that's a different location, the 2024.
Yeah, it would be in Columbus is my proposal. But that's what we will be deciding when we meet at Highlander.
Okay.
Because there are 2 25-year anniversaries. We use the anniversaries to raise money, and SARN was founded in November 1998 in Durham. That's where we mark our first anniversary. So for November of 2023, we will be having the 25-year celebration in Durham. And then we will have the second 25-year anniversary celebration in either Atlanta or Columbus. My goal is for us to do it in Columbus because this is where we have the highest concentration of board members, and it's where we have our we're best known over these 12 years that I've been living here. So it would be an event where the mayor would come, and it'll be a pretty significant celebration. And I think we would be able to raise more money for our program booklet if it were held in Columbus in June of 2024. In November of 2023, there are enough people that we're still connected with in Durham in North Carolina that we should be able to raise a significant amount of money in Durham because SARN was founded in Durham. So those events, celebrations, as you described them, Jennifer, are fundraising events. And we will decide when we meet in June of 2023 exactly how much money we want to try to raise for the two celebrations as I work myself into retirement. Yes, that's what we'll be planning for the next few months, is getting to Highlander, where we'll be planning the future of SARN as an organization. I would like to see it survive because I've taken out quite a bit of life insurance, and SARN is the intended beneficiary right now of about $25,000 in life insurance so that it can continue beyond my death if it continues beyond the 25th anniversary. But these are things we will be discussing when we meet up in June of 2023.
Okay, thank you. Because I'm editing the minutes just to make sure that I have all the trips and the dates and anniversary fundraising events accurate. And the only thing I'm not as sure of is if I will be able to do a second trip to Highlander, like the pre-planning trip in end of April, early May, because that's the semester is still underway. But I'm definitely excited about the one the end of June, and I'll put those dates in my calendar: June 23, 24, 25 of 2023.
Well, that sounds good because the site visit, I'm hoping that George and I at least will be able to do a site visit since she and I have the flexibility, and she and I do both know Highlander well. And the last time I was there was for, I think it was 5 years ago for the 85th anniversary, and I was just amazed at how many improvements have taken place. And one of the co-directors of Highlander is a young woman I met when she was a student at the 75th anniversary of Highlander. So to see her there as a director when she was just a student undergrad when I met her at East Tennessee State, and we began working together on the Ella Baker tour, and now she's a co-director at Highlander. So the amazing history that we'll be enjoying, and I fully expect her to welcome us on that Friday evening so that we can talk about, telling stories about how we know each other. So there'll be several of us, I think, on the board or at the meeting who have visited Highlander before, and there's plenty of history for people to browse while they're there. So, yes, I'm glad that you're looking forward to it, Jennifer, because it will be really a very place you'll never forget. And when I first visited there for our meeting to start SARN, I looked for a reason to visit there like every year. So everybody who wanted to have a meeting, I would say you got to have a meeting at Highlander. And everybody who came, they were so amazed. I mean, all the radicals, socialists, and revolutionary people that I was connected with, I would always talk them into having their meetings at Highlander. And they were always very pleased with it. So I think you'll probably do the same. The other thing I hope we could talk about this evening, Jennifer, did someone contact you from WILF about the Practicum Commission on the Status of Women that's happening in March of 2023?
I don't think so. I don't recall being contacted. Do you think they would have done it via email or another way?
Oh, it would definitely have been via email. So the person who is in charge of it, it's a very important opportunity, and it's for people who are. It's for women in college who are undergrads. And when I think about some of the women I met at Winthrop, it will be a huge opportunity for them to the UN in New York. It'll be I think the 67th Commission on the Status of Women. It's an annual event at the UN. I went there in 2012 as the delegate, and it's an experience you won't forget. And the women in college do something they call the practicum. And since you're the person I gave as the primary contact to get women from Winthrop to go. And so there is money in WILF, but there's probably also, they'll explain to you how it works, but you will meet all these women as a part of WILF from around the world and other organizations. But WILF plays a major part in the women who show up there. But the UN is a commission to decide issues for peace and security of women around the world. It's an unforgettable experience. And so it'll get a lot of press coverage, and you'll get a lot of press coverage in the Winthrop, Kill, Charlotte area for just going. Because when I went, it turned out to be a major media thing here in Columbus, and they followed me to New York, and it was a very big deal. But I will get up with Shilpa, and I will connect the two of you on email so that you can start working on it, because you have to get a lot of credentials done and stuff done to be able to get into the UN facilities. And so there's a process, and I do know that Shilpa, who's from India, will be going to India for So I know that she
Okay, I
probably
just found
wants.
it. I just looked. She said you said Shilpa. I was searching for Wilf. I do see Shilpa Pandy. Shilpa
Yes, she
Pandy.
would have been the one contacting you.
Okay,
So
great.
you haven't responded to her yet?
No, I need to respond to her.
Yeah, you do, because she's in charge.
And part of the issue may be if the dates overlap to when we have our Model United Nations conference at Winthrop. You said March, so I definitely have to check the dates.
I put the link in the chat, Jennifer.
Okay, thank you. Because our conference is
But
in March.
Shilpa is a person to contact because it goes on like a solid week at least. And so it's a very exciting experience. So I thought Shilpa would have contacted you.
She did. Thank
So
you.
please,
Thank you.
please do respond to her because she's trying to pull it together, and she's a person who can answer all your questions.
Okay, good. I have it at the top of my email. Thank you, Teresa.
Okay, great. I would like to hear from you and Adrian about fundraising potential. I do a lot of fundraising on Facebook, and anyone can start a fundraiser on Facebook. I know that you'll be starting one in January for your birthday, right, Adrian?
That's right. Yes, that's
So
correct.
exactly when is your birthday, Adrian?
January 11th. January 11th.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it would probably be good for you to start the fundraiser in late December and let it go over until, so you at least have 4 weeks, because you'll be turning, what, 65?
66.
Oh, so your goal would be to raise $660
Right.
your fundraiser.
Okay. Right.
And so we have, when is your birthday, Jennifer?
Mine is April 5th.
Okay. So you'll do a birthday fundraiser in April. And my birthday is in June, but I raise money on Facebook all the time. So I don't wait until my birthday. So like the fundraiser I have going now for $2,000. And so we have some new donors, people who have never given to the organization before. A person, Michael Goldstein, who lives in the Bay Area. I bought a book of his some months ago, and I noticed that he donated to the fundraiser. A Wolf member in DC named Martha, she donated to the fundraiser. And the other people who donated, Kat Canella, who used to be the treasurer of the board, she donated $50 yesterday. And then Claire Cohen, who is a good friend of mine in Pittsburgh, she donated. But I've asked about 1,000 people to donate. So I find in order to meet a goal of like $2,000, you really need to ask about 4,000 people to donate. So I have over 4,000, close to 5,000 friends. So I'll probably end up asking most of them before the end of the fundraiser, which is December 31st. But you can share the fundraiser. So if you find the fundraiser for SARN, it's there. It's called now the Giving Tuesday / December fundraiser. But tomorrow I will change it to just December fundraiser for
Yes, I
SARN.
saw that and I was excited. I kind of came across it. And tomorrow's payday, so I thought, okay, December 1, I can make my contribution. And once I make a contribution, then I'll send it out to all my Facebook friends and ask them to make a contribution. So thank you for starting that, Teresa.
Yeah,
Yep.
because you have some really good friends. Because I told you about that friend of yours who donated, I think, $100 when you shared the fundraiser before, and I think she was based in New York.
Yes, I am. I'm I'm blessed with friends up and down the East Coast, some in the West Coast. So I'm hoping to get them involved for sure.
Well, that sounds great. So, SARN does not need a lot of money because we're pretty much volunteer, and we raise a lot of money here in Columbus because we have a project here that people contribute to. Like we just raised about $4,000 on a project, and we spent most of it on the event because the event itself costs over $2,000, and the rest of the money we use to pay people who worked the event. And so that's how we raise money here. We sell ads, the ad book, and that's how we will raise money next year for the two celebrations. We get businesses and friends to buy full page ads. And we sold full page ads here for $500 each. And so we were able to raise quite a bit from people who had not donated before. So it helped us to build our donor base. So that's what these admin committee meetings are primarily about, is the finances and the plans for how we're gonna be organized. The official stuff that keeps us honest with the IRS and keeps us out of trouble with the IRS. That's our primary role. And we have a very good CPA who's based here in Columbus. So he does our 990s for us every May. And so he only charges us $100 to do that. We'll be sending out 1099s in January, and he usually only charges us $100 to do that. And Deidre and I will do that financial stuff here because since our CPA is here in Columbus, those of us here in Columbus acting as treasurer, so to speak, finance committee part, we deal with that part. But one last thing, Adrian, the Wealth Triannual Congress is going to be in August of 2024, and people really like the idea that that would be in Atlanta. So do you think it's possible for you and Cece and Shante to have an email or whatever kind of conversation to commit to allowing it to be hosted in Atlanta? And I'm willing to do a lot of the work because I know the venues in Atlanta. And you saw the message from Darian saying that she would prefer that we did the low cost Spelman area potential. You saw what I wrote. See, I've done quite a few events at the Women's Center at Spelman. And, it's a great building, several auditoriums and side meeting rooms. So we could do all of the conference meetings in that one building at Spelman, and then people could sleep in the dorms at Clark, and then the cafeteria at Clark is people would buy meal tickets there. So that's what I could start looking into because the universities like to rent out space before students come. So in early August, when there are very few students there, would be a time to have the triannual there.
Okay. Yes, I did see that. Sure, I can reach out to the other members.
Well, the one thing that the Metro Atlanta branch hasn't done is move beyond. Shante is really quite busy, and there are nearly 30 members in the Atlanta branch. But as far as I can tell, in the year since the year and a half, I guess, since the branch was reestablished from May of 2021, now there's never actually been a branch meeting.
That's true.
I'm asking you, is
No,
that
not
true?
no, yes, that is true.
So that needs to change.
Yep.
See, the DC branch that we started in June, they've had several branch meetings since June, and I know everything has kind of depended on Shante, but Shante just hasn't pulled together a Zoom branch meeting, because that's all that's required is pulling together a Zoom branch meeting at some point. And I thought CC would step up and do it, but no one has done it so far. And in order for the branch to host the triannual, a lot of work would need to be done next year to get the branch in position to actually host it. It's okay to agree to work on that, but that means in January, at the January board meeting of WILF, the Metro Atlanta branch is to be represented there and confirm that you're willing to work on it, even though it would be like a year and 8 months away. It will be, a lot has to be done early for anything in Atlanta because so many people try to do meetings in Atlanta. So you would really have to reserve the space as soon as possible.
Right. Okay.
So good. What time is it, George? George, are you there?
Hey, it's 8:55, Teresa.
Well, the last item on the agenda I had planned is to decide when we want to do the full board meeting, which will be in January. And I would like to try to do it before the Martin Luther King holidays. There's a major ending mass incarceration conference in Atlanta on January the 11th through the 13th. So if we could do the January board meeting within after New Year's, but before the 10th of January. So can we look at our calendar to be able to offer some dates to the full board?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would say after, I'm pretty flexible, probably I don't know, 4th, 5th, and 6th. That's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then Monday, the 9th. So anytime after the 3rd, after January 3rd.
Yeah, I'm good for those days too.
You said before the 10th, right, Teresa?
Yeah, or by the 10th. I mean,
Okay.
we could actually do it on the 10th. So in looking at my calendar, I'm open, you say, for you after the 3rd, Jennifer?
Yes.
Me too.
I don't know if there are certain nights of the week where that are better than others. What do you think?
Well, I say the 4th, 5th, or the 10th. So I try to avoid doing meetings on Mondays. The second Monday of the month is always kind of busy for me for some reason. It's the city council meeting. It's the school board meeting. It's the second and third Monday of the month. But it'll probably, because of Martin Luther King holiday, we definitely want to avoid that. And the Atlanta Martin Luther King holiday starts to be celebrated around the Thursday or Friday before the holiday. And so that's when the conference is, through the 15th. So could we say the 4th, the 5th, which is the Wednesday or Thursday, or the following Tuesday, which is the 10th?
That sounds good. June 4th, 5th, or 10th.
Yeah, so if you could just block out those evenings for 7 to 8 p.m. board meetings. So you don't have class on those nights, do you, Jennifer?
No, I don't think we start back. We might start back the 10th, but I don't think I teach Monday nights.
Well, that's a Tuesday. It's a Tuesday.
Oh, Tuesday. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, I should be good. Let me ask this. Well, should I, as secretary, or should George, in her role consulting, which one of us should send out these possible dates to the full board to see which one is best?
Well, just double check your calendars, but I would like to send out the potential dates next week. So I will do that as the board chair to the board because a board member who does not have email, she's called me about 3 times since we've talked. And so I'll get up with our Luddite board member who is on email, and I've been trying to reach her for the last couple of weeks, but she's really very important to the parents project here. So anyway,
Well, thank you.
so
That's great. If you reach out to everybody, that's fabulous. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, because see, I know that you work full time and you have a lot going on. So you're taking the minutes and records. And at some point, talk about the documents members are asked to sign annually. And one important document is a conflict of interest which we all are to sign January, usually in January of every year. But I think the whole package of documents is something that needs to be in your possession. The bylaws and the other important documents the IRS kind of tracks us on.
And I have those. I wanted you to know, I just searched, I have the SARN bylaws final revised as of 2021 and the SARN conflict of interest policy. I have both of these from our June 26, 2021 meeting.
Well, great. Well, those are the two very documents. So when we add new board members as secretary, you're supposed to make sure that you have those. You haven't had any new board members since you became secretary. I think we will be adding a new board member in January. That's going to be Patrick O'Neill in Garner, North Carolina. So he will be invited to our board meeting in January. So I think that's it. But I think we probably we were missing is it possible that we can get together in December?
Sure. If we need to have Deidre, then yeah, sure.
Well, I'm looking at December will be after the Fannie Lou Hamer branch conference, which is going to have me tied up for the next 10 days. So, Adrian, are you available 2 weeks from today on Wednesday the 14th?
Let me check. Wednesday, the 14th. Yeah. Oh, I have a program meeting. Can you hear me?
That might be difficult for me too.
Yeah, I've got something from 7 to 8.
We have our final exam, our final grades and final examining period are pretty much through Friday the 16th. I don't know if it's too late to move it to the following week or not, like what is that, the 19th? The 20th, is that too late?
Oh, no, it doesn't matter. So, what about the 21st? Because on the 20th, we have the Africa
That's
webinar.
right. Yes. I saw that, the webinar on the 20th, so maybe the 21st.
21st.
Are you available on the 20th, Adrian?
On the 20th, yes.
Or 21st, Wednesday.
Oops, hold on. 21st, Wednesday, yes. Yes.
So could we start at 7?
Do you want to say 7 to 8 that night, Teresa?
7 to 8, yeah, 7 to 8 on the 21st.
Okay.
Okay. I'll write that down.
I could do it. I can send a quick save the day. This is just a SARN admin meeting.
December.
And that's everyone on this call plus Deidre, right? That's just another admin meeting. Everyone on this call plus Deidre.
Yeah, that'll be it.
Okay.
And then that way we could really nail down some things in Highlander because getting back with Highlander before that time, George, you and I can talk about that so they understand we do not need a facilitator from Highlander for our board meeting, but we would like a Highlander staff person to join us on Friday night to give a little bit of a history of Highlander for the first timers.
Okay,
So, well, it looks like we're all set. So, well, I will be sure to be in touch with Shilpa, Jennifer.
Yes, I will have her email up. Thank you for there's just so much going on. I missed the email. So thank you for putting her name in front of my radar.
Well, it's really been busy times, and thanks to the University Foundation, I did get the travel expense check a few days ago, and so I was glad to see it. Thank you for that, and I really did have a great time at Winthrop, and it would be great for some of the wonderful women students to be a part of the wealth experience at the CSW next year. So I hope that works out.
Thank you so much, Teresa. I'm sorry it took so long for that check to come. I'm glad it did. And I'm sorry I had COVID when you were here. I could not see Teresa, which was terrible. But
Oh,
all
no.
my colleagues stepped in and my students packed and took a video. I have to get you those videos still. So I apologize. I haven't even seen it myself yet, but I will get it for you.
Well, it was a great time, I tell you. And I was just stunned at how story it was, because I expected maybe 50 people to show up, and it was like packed. And they were just those were the sweetest, most polite students. They were so kind and listened and asked great questions. They really were into it. It was really quite a joy. So I look forward to inviting you to Columbus for some of the exciting things that you do. Yeah, we're going to have a great time over the next couple of years. So I'll be talking to you on email. So thank you, Adrian, and please get up with CC and Shantae.
Yeah, I'll work on that.
Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Okay, thank
I'm in
Thank you.
now.
Good seeing you.
Bye.
Thank you.
So good night, George.